I never thought a single day at school could change the way I saw myself forever. I was the kind of boy who barely spoke up in class, who slouched in the back and prayed the teacher wouldn't call my name. The kind of boy who tried his hardest to be invisible because whenever people looked too closely, I felt like they could see through me. See the secret I carried in silence, the one I buried every night when I shut down my laptop after pretending to be someone else online. Out there in the real world, I was Daniel, the quiet boy no one cared much about. But online, under a name I chose carefully, Lena, I was beautiful, bold, and free. I had a profile full of selfies, but not really selfies. They were edited pictures, stolen makeup filters, clothes I tried on in secret when no one was home. Sometimes I would snap a photo in my sister's dress, fixing the angle so no one could tell it was me. Online, people told me I was gorgeous. They flirted with me, treated me like I mattered, and for a few hours each night, I could breathe like I was finally living the life I wished was mine. But then morning came, and I went back to school, back to being invisible. It all started in English class when Mr. Harris, my teacher, announced the drama project. "We'll be performing scenes," he said, scanning the room with that serious look of his. "And some of you will be stepping into roles outside your comfort zone." He paused, his eyes landing on me. "Daniel, you'll be playing Juliet." At first, the class erupted with laughter. I could feel the heat rising in my face, my chest tight as I sank lower into my chair. Juliet? Of all roles, he gave me that. I wanted to protest, to beg for something else, but his gaze was steady, challenging, almost like he knew I wouldn't refuse. "You'll do fine," he said firmly, dismissing the laughter with one sharp glance around the room. The next few weeks were torture and temptation all at once. I told myself I hated it, that wearing the costume, speaking lines in a softer tone, pretending to be someone I wasn't, it was humiliating. But late at night, when I was alone in my room, I practiced in front of the mirror. The dress draped over me in a way that made my body feel strange, like it was awakening something I'd tried so hard to bury. The makeup my sister had left behind, half forgotten in a drawer, called out to me, and when I put it on, even clumsily, my reflection didn't look like Daniel anymore. It looked like Lena. The same Lena who lived online, who laughed and teased and felt alive. The more I rehearsed, the more I realized it didn't feel like pretending. It felt like remembering who I really was. But the danger of it all pressed down on me constantly. At school, the whispers spread. "Daniel's playing the girl," they mocked. "He likes it too much." Every laugh sliced through me, but I couldn't deny the thrill that came each time I stepped onto the stage, Juliet's dress swaying around me. My teacher watched carefully, not unkindly, and sometimes I wondered if he saw more than I wanted him to. Then came the night that changed everything. I was online, logged in as Lena, when I got a private message. It was from someone with a familiar username, and my stomach dropped when I realized who it was. Jason, the boy I'd secretly liked for months. He was popular, easygoing, the kind of guy who smiled at everyone but never really looked at me. And here he was messaging Lena. "Hey," he typed. "You're gorgeous. Do I know you from somewhere?" My heart raced as I stared at the screen. He couldn't know. There was no way. I typed back quickly, slipping into Lena's confidence, like armor. "Maybe you've seen me around," I wrote. He responded with a smiley face and a compliment that made my chest tighten. From that moment on, we talked every night. He told me about his dreams, his frustrations, the way he sometimes felt like no one really understood him. And I listened, offering comfort, advice, flirtation. With Lena, he opened up in ways I never thought he would. And the more he fell for her, the deeper my guilt sank into me. At school, he walked past me like always, no clue that the boy sitting quietly in the back of class was the same person he stayed up late texting. It was intoxicating and terrifying, a double life I couldn't keep straight anymore. Every time he typed, "I wish I could see you in person," panic ripped through me. How long could I keep this up? The turning point came during rehearsal. Jason was in the play too, playing Romeo, of course. When we practiced the balcony scene, his eyes locked onto mine, and for a split second, I swear, he wasn't looking at Daniel. He was looking at Lena. The way I tilted my head, the way the makeup softened my face, The way the dress curved it blurred the line between who I was supposed to be and who I actually was. My breath caught when he whispered the lines, softer than he needed to, like they were meant for me, and not the character. My hands trembled as I delivered Juliet's reply, my voice shaking with something more than stage fright. That night, his messages were different. More urgent. "I feel like I know you," he wrote to Lena. "Like I've seen you. Today, in rehearsal you looked, I don't know, familiar." My chest clenched. He was putting the pieces together. The walls of my two worlds were collapsing, and I was standing helpless in the middle. I tried to pull back, to stop answering his messages, but Jason wouldn't let go. "Please don't disappear," he wrote one night. "I think I'm falling for you." My vision blurred with tears as I read the words I had dreamed of hearing, but never like this, never when they weren't meant for me, Daniel, but for the girl I could never fully be. The pressure built until the night of the performance. The auditorium was full, lights blinding, my heart pounding as I stepped onto the stage in Juliet's gown. My teacher gave me a steady nod, but my eyes found Jason's. In that moment, the play didn't feel like pretend. It felt like confession. Every line we spoke was soaked with truth, every touch of his hand igniting something real inside me. When the final scene came, when Juliet collapsed into Romeo's arms, I wasn't acting anymore. I was living a moment I had wanted, but could never claim. After the applause, after the curtain fell, Jason found me backstage. His eyes searched mine with a kind of quiet intensity. "It's you, isn't it?" he whispered. "Lena." My throat closed. I wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, but the truth was written all over my face, in the tears I couldn't stop. "Jason, I stammered, but the words tangled into silence. He didn't look angry, just shocked, confused, hurt. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked softly. My chest ached with everything I couldn't explain. How could I tell him that Lena was the only way I ever felt alive? That without her, I was just a shadow in the corner of the room? That I had wanted his love so badly, I built a girl he could fall for, never expecting it to come crashing down like this? The days after were a blur of tension and fear. Jason stopped messaging me. At school, he avoided my gaze. The whispers grew louder somehow, people suspected, though no one said it outright. I felt like I was suffocating, trapped between Daniel and Lena, neither one fully real, neither one fully safe. Then, one afternoon, Jason cornered me after class. My stomach twisted as he spoke. "I don't know what to think," he admitted. "Part of me feels betrayed. But part of me can't stop thinking about you. About Lena. About the way you looked up there on stage." He paused, his voice trembling. "Which one is the real you?" The question split me open. For so long, I'd lived in fragments, Daniel by day, Lena by night. I wanted to say both. I wanted to say I didn't know. But what came out was raw and trembling. "I think Lena is who I've always been. I don't know if the world will ever let me be her." Jason's silence stretched between us, heavy and fragile. Finally, he whispered, "I don't care what they say. I just want the truth. I just want you." In that moment, I realized the impossible choice wasn't about choosing between Daniel or Lena, between freedom or fear. It was about choosing to stop hiding, to risk being seen, even if it meant losing everything. My heart hammered as I nodded, tears streaming. The secret was no longer just mine, it was out there, vulnerable, terrifying. But for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't alone. And that was the beginning of everything I couldn't stop. The days after that confession were heavier than anything I had ever lived through. Jason knew the truth now, but the silence between us was suffocating. I replayed our conversation in my head over and over, dissecting every glance, every word, wondering if I had ruined everything forever. At school, he didn't avoid me completely, but he didn't sit next to me either. It was worse than being invisible because now I could feel his eyes on me even when he pretended not to look. Each time he caught me in the hallway, it was like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. That confusion cut deeper than rejection because I couldn't tell if he wanted Lena or Daniel, or if he could ever want both. Meanwhile, rumors began to coil through the school like smoke. People had noticed the way Jason and I had looked at each other on stage. Some joked that I had gotten too into the role. Others whispered that I liked it too much. Every laugh burned into me. I wanted to shrink, to run, but every night I still logged in as Lena. It was the only place I could breathe, though even that space began to twist with fear. Jason was still there, sending short messages, hesitant but consistent. "Are you okay?" he would ask. "Can we talk?" But what was there to say? Every truth I had to give him felt like a risk, a trap I couldn't escape. Then something unexpected happened. Mr. Harris, the teacher who had first chosen me to play Juliet, asked me to stay behind after class. My chest tightened with dread as the other students filed out. He shut the door gently and leaned against his desk, arms crossed but his gaze softer than I'd ever seen. "Daniel," he said quietly, "you were extraordinary in that play." I swallowed hard, unsure if he was mocking me. But his tone was steady, almost warm. "I saw the way you came alive on stage," he continued. "That wasn't just acting. That was you. Don't think I didn't notice." My heart pounded. Was he accusing me? Did he know about Lena? My voice cracked as I stammered. I was just doing the part." He shook his head slowly.
"No. You were being yourself for the first time."
"You think no one sees you, but I do." Those words lodged in me like glass. For so long, I had prayed no one would see through me, but now that someone did, I didn't know whether to collapse in relief or run in terror. He didn't push further, only added, "Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to face it alone." Then he dismissed me, leaving me trembling with confusion. That night Jason messaged me again, this time with more urgency. "I can't stop thinking about you," he wrote. "Not just Lena. You. Both of you. I don't know what this means, but I need to see you." My fingers hovered over the keys for what felt like forever. Finally, I typed back. "Tomorrow. After school." The next day dragged like a slow storm. Every glance from classmates felt sharper, every whisper louder. When the bell rang, I slipped out quickly, my heart pounding as I met Jason behind the old gym. He was waiting, hands shoved in his pockets, eyes heavy with something between fear and hope. When he looked at me, it wasn't with mockery. It wasn't with pity. It was searching, raw, like he was trying to see both halves of me at once. "Daniel," he started, then paused, shaking his head.
"No. Lena."
"I don't know which name to use." "You can use either," I whispered. "They're both me." He stepped closer, and I froze, every nerve on fire. "When you were on stage," he said, "I saw someone I couldn't look away from. And when we talked online, I felt like I'd finally met someone who understood me. Then I found out it was you, and I didn't know what to do. Part of me was angry, but part of me," he broke off, running a hand through his hair. "Part of me has never felt this way before." The air between us was so heavy it was hard to breathe. My voice trembled as I asked, "So what now?" Jason's jaw tightened. "Now you have to decide if you're going to keep hiding, or if you'll let people see you. Because I can't keep pretending Lena doesn't exist. She's real. You're real." And his voice faltered, then steadied. "I think I might be falling in love with both of you." Tears welled up in my eyes. For so long I had lived split in half, and here was someone telling me I didn't have to choose. But the fear clawed at me. If people knew, if my parents found out, if the whole school turned against me, what would I have left? Jason's hand brushed mine gently, as if to anchor me. "I don't care what they say," he whispered. "I just need to know who you want to be when no one's watching." The question echoed inside me long after we parted. That night, I stood in front of my mirror again. Daniel's clothes hung on me like chains. But when I pulled out the dress, when I traced eyeliner with a trembling hand, Lena looked back at me with tears shining in her eyes. Not fantasy. Not disguise.
Just me.
The next morning I woke up knowing the choice I had to make. I wasn't ready to tell the whole world. I wasn't ready for my parents, for the whispers that would grow into shouts. But I was ready to stop lying to myself. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to let Jason see me as I truly was. The path ahead was terrifying. But for the first time, it wasn't hopeless. The morning after that choice felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath my feet. I went to school wearing the same clothes as always, hoodie pulled up, jeans hanging loose, but under the fabric I carried the weight of a truth that could no longer stay buried. Jason sat across the classroom, his eyes flicking to mine when he thought no one was looking. It was like we were holding a secret language in silence, and each glance tethered me to something I couldn't let go of. But the world has a way of tearing secrets open. It happened 2 days later, faster than I could prepare. Someone had found my online account. Maybe it was a cousin who recognized my room in the background of a photo, or maybe a classmate who had been curious enough to dig. I'll never know for sure. All I know is that by lunch period, whispers turned into snickers, and snickers into laughter that echoed across the cafeteria. "Lena," someone jeered loudly, holding up a phone with my profile displayed for all to see. My heart stopped as faces turned, voices sharp with cruelty. "That's Daniel? Wearing makeup? Dresses?" The blood drained from me. I wanted to run, to vanish, but my legs wouldn't move. The room spun, every voice blending into a roar. Jason was there, standing rigid, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. For a moment I thought he would stay silent like everyone else. But then he moved. He snatched the phone from the boy's hand and slammed it onto the table so hard it cracked. "Shut up," he snarled, his voice cutting through the chaos. The room fell into stunned silence. Jason's eyes blazed as he looked around. "You think this is funny? You don't know a damn thing." The cafeteria froze. Everyone stared at him, at me, waiting for me to collapse under the weight of exposure. My breath came in ragged gasps, but I forced myself to stand. My hands shook, my voice cracked, but I spoke anyway. "It's true," I whispered, then louder. "It's true. That's me." The silence deepened, every face a blur of shock, disgust, confusion. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "I'm not ashamed," I said, though my whole body trembled. "Not anymore." The aftermath was chaos. Some laughed harder, crueler. Some just looked away, pretending not to care. But Jason stayed at my side, his hand brushing mine under the table, an anchor in the storm. Mr. Harris was the one who stepped in, his voice sharp as he dispersed the crowd. Later, in his office, he spoke to me in that steady, unflinching tone. "The hardest part of being yourself," he said, "is realizing you can't control how others will see you. But you can control whether you keep hiding. And today you didn't hide." When I got home that night, I thought the worst was over. But my parents had already heard. My cousin must have told them. My mother's face was pale, my father's voice harsh as he demanded answers. "Is this some kind of joke?" he barked. "Dressing up like a girl? Embarrassing us?" The words sliced deep. I tried to explain, my voice breaking as I said, "It's not a joke. It's me. It's who I am." But the more I spoke, the angrier they became. My father slammed his fist against the table, shouting that I was throwing my life away. My mother wept, begging me to stop, to promise it would end. That night, I locked myself in my room, heart shattered, makeup smeared from tears. For hours I stared at the reflection in the mirror, at the girl who looked back at me, and wondered if I had destroyed everything. Then my phone buzzed. It was Jason. Just 2 words. "You're not alone." I don't know how long I stared at that message, but it was enough to pull me back from the edge. Enough to remind me that even in the wreckage, someone saw me and didn't turn away. The next days blurred into survival. The whispers at school didn't stop. My parents' disappointment hung heavy in the air. But each time I wanted to vanish, Jason found me. Sometimes it was just a quiet nod in the hallway. Sometimes it was sitting with me at lunch even when people stared. And once, when I broke down in the empty auditorium, it was him holding me close, whispering, "I don't care what they say. You're real. And I want you exactly as you are." The moment that sealed everything came a week later. Mr. Harris had called a meeting after school for the drama club under the pretense of discussing the next project. But halfway through, he turned the conversation. "What makes a character powerful?" he asked. Students tossed out answers: courage, strength, passion. Then he looked straight at me. "What makes someone powerful?" he said slowly, is the courage to be who they really are, even when everyone else tries to tear them down. The room went quiet. For a second, I thought my chest would split open. Because I knew he wasn't just talking about the play.
He was talking about me.
That night, for the first time, I logged into my account as Lena, without fear. I posted a picture of myself not stolen, not cropped, not edited to hide who I was. Just me. The comments came fast, some cruel, some supportive. But none of them mattered as much as the one that made my heart stop. Jason, finally. The real you. And in that moment, I realized something I never thought I would. I didn't need to stop. I didn't need to erase Lena. Because Lena wasn't a mask I put on. She was the truth I had been too afraid to live. And now, even though the world was louder, harsher, and more dangerous than ever, I wasn't facing it alone. The picture I posted that night spread faster than I ever imagined. Some classmates mocked it openly, screenshotting and sharing cruel jokes, while others sent quiet messages of support. My inbox filled with voices from both sides, but the only one I kept rereading was Jason's. Finally. The real you. Those words burned brighter than any insult, like a light I could cling to in the storm. But at home, the storm was worse. My father stopped speaking to me entirely, his silence heavier than shouting. My mother hovered in doorways, her eyes swollen from crying, whispering pleas for me to come back, to the son she thought she knew. Each night, I heard them arguing in the kitchen, their voices muffled but sharp, and every word cut deeper, because I knew I was the reason. One evening, my father finally confronted me. He stood in my doorway, his face hard as stone. "You're throwing your future away," he said. "This phase, this nonsense, it ends now. Or you leave my house." His words were iron. For a moment, the air left my lungs. All I had ever wanted was their love, their acceptance, but now it felt like I was being forced to choose between survival and truth. I sat on the edge of my bed, trembling. My voice shook, but I forced it out anyway. I can't stop. Because it's not a phase. It's me. If you can't see that, then maybe you never really saw me at all. The silence that followed was unbearable. He stared at me like I was a stranger, then turned and walked away. The sound of his footsteps retreating was louder than any scream. That night, I almost packed a bag. Almost ran away. But before I could, a knock at my window startled me. Jason. He had climbed the fire escape, his breath clouding in the night air, his expression fierce and worried. "I couldn't just sit at home knowing what you're going through," he whispered. He climbed inside, sitting across from me, his presence steady and warm. For hours, I poured out everything: my parents' anger, the fear clawing inside me, the exhaustion of living split in half. Jason listened, his eyes never leaving mine. Finally, he reached for my hand. "Then don't live split anymore. Be Lena.
Be you.
I'll be here, even if the rest of the world isn't ready." Tears blurred my vision as I whispered, "What if I lose everything?" "Then you'll still have me," he said. His grip tightened, as if daring the world to take that away. The next day at school, I didn't wear the hoodie. I didn't try to disappear. I wore a blouse I had hidden in the back of my closet, soft fabric brushing against me like a secret finally freed. The whispers began the moment I walked in, but this time I didn't look down. Jason was at my side, walking with me, and though fear still throbbed in my chest, something stronger rose above it. A kind of quiet power I had never felt before. Mr. Harris stopped me after class. His eyes scanned me, then he smiled, just faintly. "You look right," he said simply. No lecture, no grand speech, just those 3 words. And they carried me farther than I thought I could go. The days that followed weren't easy. The teasing didn't stop. My parents didn't soften. But each time I saw my reflection, it hurt a little less. Each time I walked through the halls, shoulders straighter, the whispers stung a little less. And each time Jason's hand found mine, I felt a little stronger. The final turning point came during another performance weeks later. A new play, new costumes, new lines. This time, when I stepped onto the stage, it wasn't about pretending. It wasn't about hiding behind a role. It was about standing in front of everyone as Lena, no mask, no disguise. The applause at the end was loud, but what mattered more was the silence that fell first, the stunned, quiet recognition in their eyes.
They saw me.
Not Daniel pretending. Lena living. When the curtain fell, Jason was waiting backstage. He pulled me into his arms, his voice low and certain. Now they know. Now the whole world knows. And you didn't hide. I leaned into him, tears spilling freely. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving between two lives. I was one. Whole.
Seen.
Real. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, one truth was carved deep inside me, unshakable. I had been forced to crossdress once, but I couldn't stop because I had finally discovered who I really was.